Take that off.
Absolutely not. Hi, and welcome to Married to Macabre. This is Dee.
And this is Isaac.
And here we are again with episode 3. Thanks for coming back.
We're excited to tell you about another murder story. Boom.
Yes. So today's episode is another murder. It is we're still on true crime. However, before we get to that, I remember that I did promise to tell you my ghost story.
Oh, God.
In the last episode.
Please don't.
So, okay. I was in college. I can't remember the exact year, but so my friend from high school, we stayed friends through college, and you know who this is.
Yeah.
She had a pretty sick house. It was huge, and it had something very odd for Florida. It had like
What?
a basement.
It had a basement?
It was like a basement, but it was super weird. Okay, so
What was it, like 3 steps below the first
yes,
floor?
yeah, okay.
Really?
So when you would get to her house,
Yeah.
remember how there was like stairs to go up to her front door?
I've never been to her house.
Oh no,
No.
I could have sworn you'd been there. But okay, whatever. So there's like stairs to go into the front door. They're not like
Right.
extensive, but you know, you got to take a couple steps. Not like my mom's house where it's like 3 steps. It was a
Sure.
significant amount. So when you walked in through the front door, that was technically the second floor.
Oh, because okay, I get it.
'Cause
You're-
there was a
you're
floor-
taking a flight of stairs.
Basically underground.
Sure.
It was really weird. So it wasn't a basement in the sense of like an unfinished basement. It was like an entire living quarter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, that's where they had a live-in housekeeper, and that's where
Oh, and
she
that's
would
where
stay.
they stay?
So it was like it had a kitchen, a room, like all these things. Yes, my friend was well off. Yeah, so I'm like, this is
I was
not
like,
my
wow.
lifestyle. But this sounds
Are
like
you sure this house is haunted?
so haunted. So yeah,
It's
they
haunted
were-
with money.
that
It's haunted
too.
by a rich man.
But yeah, so she would always tell me these stories that the house was haunted. And she would tell me, her and her sister would tell me about all these things that were like, they would hear like stereos turning on in the middle of the night. And they would hear like doors opening and closing.
They would hear stereos.
like the
music.
stereo downstairs and like that floor under. So, okay, it was built to be like a live-in quarters, right? But their housekeeper at the time, at least when I was there, would come during the day and leave at night. So she didn't stay there at night. That's just like
Okay, yeah.
But that's how it was built to be, and from the people who owned it before them.
Mm-hmm.
So at night it was vacant. There was no one living there. But for some reason, every now and then they'd hear like the radio turn on. And one time she told me that she went downstairs because her mom was like, you'd left the TV on, go turn it off. And she's like, I wasn't watching TV downstairs. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, no, I hear it. Go downstairs right now. And her mom was intense. So like when her mom yelled, we all listened. So she's like, go downstairs right now.
And you heard this too?
No, like she was telling me this story. Something happened to me while I was there, but I'm telling you like stories she used to have. So she went downstairs and the TV was off. And she's like, the TV's not on, but she could hear something. So she's like, all right, that's what my mom's hearing. Maybe my sister left on the music. So she's like going to the kitchen and that radio's off. And like she kind of like trying to follow the sound and she realizes it's coming from
The basement.
the bottom floor.
The first floor.
Yeah.
It's a basement.
So you got to take like a couple steps down and then it's like a door and a hallway and then it's literally like a whole apartment. So she opened the door and she starts walking toward the radio, which is toward the back, like where the bed is.
She's alone.
And she's alone. And it's nighttime because, of course, it is because this shit doesn't happen during the day. And she says that as she got closer to it, like it was getting like the freaking volume was going up.
Oh, really?
And
As
she's
she
like-
was,
and
as
she
she
could
was
see
turning
it.
The dial?
Like, no, like as she's
as
no,
she's-
obviously if she was turning the dial.
I was gonna say, wow, that happened to me once, twice.
It's like, well, yes, that's kind of what happens. But no, as she was approaching it, she could see like the volume bars going up because it's like one of those digital ones. Whatever. She would tell me about a bunch of weird shit, like doors being open. They'd all be asleep. And in the morning, like all the bedroom doors would be open, like weird shit. But I was always kind of skeptical because I never saw anything. And I was over there a lot. So
That wasn't me, by the way.
that was me. I actually hit the mic citation.
That's one.
So when I was there, we were getting ready to go to Halloween Horror Nights the next day. So I slept over that night.
Okay.
And something dramatic happened that night. It was a whole thing. We found out like some stuff. It's like classic college
teen drama
bullshit. No, I know, right? Well, I was in my 20s, but like early 20s. But yeah, like your classic bullshit that's so unimportant and as freaking affecting as you think it is in the moment. So everything was kind of happening. So in all that, it was like 1 a.m. and we like didn't even go up to the bedroom to go to sleep. We ended up just like laying on her sofas down in her living room.
Okay.
So we're laying there and she fell asleep. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll just freaking sleep here too. We got to be up in like 4 hours to head out to Orlando anyway. So fuck it. So I lay down and I close my eyes and I'm starting to fall asleep. And I hear like a door creak open. But remember, we're kind of all up. Like her sister's there. Her sister's a little younger than us. I think at the time she was like 19 and we were like maybe 21. We were definitely 21, yeah. So 21 or 22, and then her sister must have been like 18, 19. So we're like, I'm thinking, okay, it's her sister moving around, right? But then I realized that the door creak didn't come from upstairs. It came from like behind me. So the way it is like when you're in the sofa, you're laying down on the sofa.
Okay.
You're in the living room. There is like, on the sofa I was lying, my back, like the back of the sofa would have been toward the front door, like when you walk in.
Okay.
So if you walk in and walk into the house, you're going to be walking like behind that sofa. If you follow that like hallway, there's 2 glass doors that lead to the kitchen.
Yeah.
And then from the kitchen, there's 2 glass doors that lead to the pool.
Also, it's like reflecting
and it's just really long that leads to outside. Sure. Yeah. So I realize in my like half asleep stupor that door noise didn't come from upstairs. It came from like the backyard. And I'm like, there's no way that this girl is going to be outside at this time by herself. Like, I know her sister well. I was like, there's no fucking way. So I'm like, okay, maybe her mom did. You know, you try to rationalize at that moment.
Maybe the neighbors.
Yeah, so I'm like, whatever. But then I hear the door close.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And then I start hearing like shuffling.
Does she have a dog?
Not at this time. And it not like, well, she did, but it was super tiny. And like, it would sound more like tapping than shuffling. So it was like almost like slow moving, like slippers dragging, like a shuffle, like a choo-choo shuffle.
Choo-choo shuffle.
So I hear that and I'm like, okay, I'm losing my mind, right? Like this is because I'm half asleep and exhausted and I just fought with like all these people and like I'm obviously delirious. And I'm trying to like just tell myself that's what's going on.
You can't wake up. I almost said her
name. But
you can't wake her up and be like, "Hey, is there anybody else in this house?" Because I'm hearing footsteps.
Well, wait for it. So I hear it, and I'm like, "Okay." But then I hear the door from the kitchen creak open. So I'm like, "You got to be fucking kidding me! Like something's coming through this living room now." Because if you come through that door, you got 2 options. You can go right and go upstairs.
Which is a horrible idea.
Or you just go...
You never go upstairs, right?
Never go upstairs, yeah. Final girl rule number 1. Never run upstairs when there's a fucking front door. But seriously. Anyways, so if you're coming in through the kitchen, like where the sound is coming, you can either go right and go straight upstairs, or you can just keep going where you end up dead in the middle of the living room where I am with my friend. So like, this ain't looking good. So I'm freaking out. And then I hear the door close. And I swear to God, Isaac, and you know that I don't make this shit up, the shuffling comes into the living room, comes behind the sofa where I'm sleeping, and stops.
Oh my God.
Right behind me. Like I can feel it. And by the way, my eyes are fucking closed. I'm like, this isn't happening. I'm literally acting like nothing's happening.
What if it's a real person? Your eyes should have been wide open.
No, when I first heard the doors like shuffling, I did obviously like look and I'm like, what the hell? And I didn't see anything. So I didn't see a person, but I could feel something behind me looking over me. Like, and it just felt like this presence hovering. And I did not look. I should have. You're right. I should have opened my eyes and looked. But I can feel like a heavy presence literally standing behind the sofa, hovering over me, staring at me, acting like I'm asleep. So at this point, I can't fucking take it anymore. So I call her name.
You yell out her name?
Not yell.
You say it like in
It's more like I'm just going to say Stacy. I'm like, Stacy.
And she's sleeping.
Nothing, right?
Knocked out.
No noise. So I'm like, fuck, she's sleeping. So I'm like, okay, Stacy. Stacy. On the third Stacy, she goes, swear to God, eyes closed.
Oh, she goes,
shut the fuck up and ignore it. And I said, So you hear it too. She goes, shut the fuck up and ignore it. I'm like, okay. And like, that was it. And then like, we literally just laid there pretending to be asleep. I'm shaking. And then it just like dissipated. Like the feeling just dissipated.
Wow.
And the minute it dissipated, I ran my happy ass upstairs so fucking fast and went into her bedroom in bed with her sister and locked the fucking door. Like she could stay down there with her apparition, but I'm hanging out upstairs.
This really happened?
I
Really?
swear to God. I wouldn't make that shit up because I can't tell you. That was probably my most real
Ghost experience.
like solid experience where I'm like, that fucking happened. I don't know if it was a ghost or what, but there was some kind of fucking energy. And from that day forward, anytime she would tell me, yo, the weirdest thing happened at my house, I'm like, I'm sure it fucking did.
Right.
And I would like, I'm like, tell me.
Yourself.
Yeah, I'm like, tell me more. And there was this freaky small door in one of the hallways. I'm talking like a dwarf door.
Why would they
I don't
have
know
that?
what was in it. I never opened it.
Did you ever ask her about it?
Yeah. And
she
like,
say?
I can't remember. I'm sure she answered me and I can't remember what it was for. But either way, this house was like, okay, I read a book called We Used to Live Here. And it was a very, very viral, like book talk, creepy book from, I think, last October. It went like super viral. It's the book that I couldn't find anywhere, remember?
Yeah.
And you had to take me to like that random Barnes and Noble because it was the only one I could find one in stock and I had to
Golf
pre-order
Galaxy
it.
or whatever.
Yeah, that you're like, we never go to this one. It's so tiny. I'm like, listen, apparently no one goes to it because they're the only one with this goddamn book in stock. So I ran in and grabbed it. So it's that book. And that book talks about this house that's just like weird shit like this, where there's like a basement and then there's like a door, but then like you go back and the door's not there. And then there's like a weird window. The book is fucking phenomenal. I recommend. Married to Macabre Book Club. Everyone read We Used to Live Here, but you got to pay close attention because it's real puzzly. We'll get back. We'll get into that later. But yeah, that house reminds me of the house from We Used to Live Here. The house was just fucking weird and beautiful.
Wow. Look,
Beautiful. And I had great times there. Listen, we had wonderful times there. It was
that
super
story
fun.
was pretty intense. I would sell the house.
Well, she doesn't live there anymore, I don't think. The last time I saw her, I'm pretty sure she said she lives somewhere else. But I mean, listen, like I said, beautiful house, 100% fucking haunted. And not the nice ghosts. Like, not nice ghosts.
Yeah, it's shuffling around.
Yeah, super creepy. So that's my ghost story. Follow Married to Macabre on Instagram. We are happy to share your ghost stories if you send them to me. Send me all your creepy stories, any scary book or scary movie recommendations on Married to Macabre Podcast on Instagram, and we'll be happy to share your story here.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Look,
Sound
I have
good?
a question about that house. One more question.
Okay.
If she doesn't live there anymore, so maybe we could Zillow it and see if they included a picture of the tiny weird door.
Oh, I gotta find her address.
Because you have to include that in pictures.
I guarantee
people are gonna
you-
ask, "What is that?"
It's fine. We didn't have like that friend and I didn't have like a falling out or anything. Just the your usual.
Yeah.
From high school, we just kind of grew apart. Like, but when I see her, we obviously say hi and talk. It's nothing like that. But yeah, super creepy.
It's crazy.
Crazy.
Intense.
So super intense. So, anyways.
Yeah.
That being said,
We're probably not going to talk about that ever again. Okay.
okay. But right now we're going to talk about the case of Amy Weidner. Okay.
Okay.
So, I need you to settle in, and I need you to wear your listening ears because this one moves. It's on a shifting timeline. Okay.
Okay. I don't have to use my brain though, right?
A little bit, because you're gonna have to talk about. Well, you're gonna have to think because we are, like I said, on a shifting timeline. It's gonna go from like
Yeah, I know. From
this
the
year to that
80s,
year. So I need you to
90s.
follow. Okay. Wear your listening ears. So here we go.
Okay.
The year is 2002. Okay. And the phone rings at a police station in Indianapolis. A secretary picks up the phone, and the man on the other end is freaking out, and he asks to please speak with a detective.
Okay.
No name, no nothing, just a detective. Please give me a detective on the line. So the secretary's like, sure, bro, like chill.
It's like, dude, call 911.
Right? So whatever. So he says that it's super, super important, and he sounds, frankly, completely distraught. So Detective Robert Spurgeon picks up the phone and speaks with the man. And the man's got something really interesting to say. The man says, Detective, Last night, I could not sleep because I was having vivid dreams of a murder occurring. A murder that I know took place 13 years ago.
Whoa.
Uh-huh. And that murder that he is referring to, actually at this time in 2002, was still unsolved and had gone completely cold. Like, no one had touched this case for years. And this dude's making this call.
Wow.
Yeah. So you can imagine Robert Spurgeon is like, what the fuck? So, yeah. So, now let's jump in the Wayback Time Machine.
How many years back?
We're going to head on down to 1987. Okay?
All right.
And that's where we find the young Miss Amy Weidner. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Amy.
Okay.
Amy, like Teresita in the last episode, was your classic cookie cutter, Dateline perfect victim. She was an excellent student, a phenomenal sister, and described as her mother and her siblings as a, quote, really good kid. And this time it's like actually true. Like, you know what I mean? Because everyone lights up a room. Everyone is everyone's best friend, you know, when something horrible happens. But this one, it just, everyone they interview, because there's interviews later that I watched for research, there's not a person who has like, it's just so genuine. This girl was a doll. So
what makes her so
but
I mean, obviously it's a sad tale either way, whether she's nice or not.
Exactly. But I'm just saying, it's, you know, listen, a tragedy is a tragedy. Yeah. Whether someone's nice or not, they don't deserve to be murdered, obviously. Yeah. But it's just, this girl really did light up rooms and was always willing to help. But like most teenagers, doesn't matter how great you are, we all make mistakes. And Amy made a mistake and ended up also being a teen mom. Which by no means am I saying a baby is a mistake, but you know.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
She was only 13 going on 14. So I'm not talking like 18, 19 teen mom. I'm talking like baby teen mom. So
yeah, that's unfortunate, but
yeah, it is what it is. And her mother has the same stance that we do, right? What are you going to do? Yeah. Here we are. So we're going to make it work.
You're not going to stop loving her.
Exactly. So Amy was secretly pregnant up until she hit about 5.5 months, where she finally
keeping it from her mom.
She was keeping it from everybody. Oh. So she was keeping it from everyone. She finally, I mean, at 5.5 months pregnant, she had to, you know, there's a time where you kind of can't hide it anymore. She was a tiny thing. So she finally comes clean that she had secretly been seeing and essentially hooking up with her older brother's best friend, 17-year-old Tony Abercrombie. She's 13. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but as a 17-year-old young man and a 13-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Is that not like horrible. Two different lives? Like, is that not two different worlds?
Yeah, you're thinking about two different things. He's thinking about cars. She's thinking about Bluey.
Right? Like, it's 13 to 17. I know it's only, 4 years, but it's just such a...
Yeah, they both entered a different warp.
Life stage.
Time warp, whatever. Not time warp. What am I saying? Cut that out.
Timeline.
Yeah.
It's
different
just
stages in their lives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So... Luckily for Amy, like I said, her mother was a total badass. And I need to say this now, that her mother was actually a single mother. So Amy's mom was a single mom raising Amy and her siblings by herself.
Yeah.
And now Amy's coming home essentially with another mouth to feed. So this mother had every right to freaking lose her shit and be like, we're not doing this. How could you do this? But that's not what happened. She... I'm sure had, you know, her moment, but essentially told Amy that she couldn't be mad at her. It is what it is. What's done is done. And that her mother's priority was to make sure that school will remain the priority for Amy, and that she will help her in any way that she can to make sure that Amy lives her life as a teenager while raising her child.
Wow.
Exactly.
A great mom.
Great mom. So her mom didn't want her to lose her childhood over this because, yes, like we said, is an early pregnancy unfortunate? Absolutely. But like you said, what are we going to do? Stop loving her and abandon her? Of course not. So her mom steps in and is completely supportive. And she was so lucky because by the time she gave birth, she was 14 years old. So at this point, the baby's father wanted nothing to do with it, didn't want to be involved with the child's life. And frankly, her mom wanted her to stay the hell away from Tony Abercrombie anyways.
Why, he was a bad kid?
Well, I mean, he's your son's 17-year-old best friend, and he's been having sex with
Yeah.
your 13-year-old daughter. Would you be like, no, you can totally chill here?
No, well, that part I got, but I'm saying aside from that, was he running around like the neighborhood beating kids up? What was he doing?
I don't know, but the mom felt in the interview with the mom, she said that she felt very betrayed because her family trusted this kid. It was her son's best friend. He was always at the house. You know, she trusted this kid, and this is what he was doing behind her back.
Right.
You know. So she obviously told her he wants nothing to do with the baby anyways.
Right.
He obviously is not a great influence. Like, just stay away from him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what happened. She had tons of support from her mother, her siblings, teachers at school, because all the teachers loved Amy. And in particular, her French teacher, Jody George, loved her. They were really, really close. So Amy dedicated herself to her studies while she was pregnant. She would go to school super early and get ahead of the work that she knew that she was going to miss when the baby was born. And all the teachers were on board. They were giving her the extra work. They were trying to keep her on track. She wanted to graduate on time. And as promised, Amy gave birth to a beautiful baby girl named Emily and then immediately returned to school 6 days later.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow, what
This
a good student.
14-year-old girl,
Yeah.
little girl, birthed an entire baby and then just like made it back for fourth period, basically.
That's crazy.
Incredible.
And way to go, mom, for taking on the financial burden and everything else.
The time, the finance, everything. So she basically just, again, like it didn't happen, just had the baby, went back to school. So for the next 2 years, Amy is going to school, getting killer grades, seeing her friends after school, going to parties, you know, nothing crazy, but, you know, when there was parties, she'd go, prom, everything. Like, she was living her life like a basic teenager. Then she would come home and take care of her daughter. And that she's raising this daughter with her mom and her siblings, like a little village. And she's totally making this teen mom, stellar student thing work out. Her teacher, Miss George, was actually pregnant at the same time. So that's another thing that that's another thing that had them bond really closely. They would talk about what's going to happen when the baby gets here. They'd talk about, you know, baby tips,
right,
you know, all that stuff. So they
they bonded on that.
They really connected on that. So now we move to November 13th, 1989.
2 years later.
2 years later, where Amy Weidner is now 16 years old and wakes up with a sore throat and feeling pretty sick. So her mom tells her to stay home from school and rest because, remember, there is this precious little 2-year-old there.
Yeah.
So her mother usually, when Amy would go to school, her mother would drop off the baby at a sitter. So her mother tells her she's going to take little Emily to the sitter and then Amy can get her rest and feel better. Because remember, Amy's the stellar student. Like, no one thinks she's lying about this. Everyone knows, like, if she's saying she's sick, she's super sick. Okay. So she's like, I'm going to take the baby. You're going to rest. And Amy protests. She's like, no. I never get to be with her for, you know, during the day because I'm always at school. I'm home. I'll be okay. Leave her with me and I can spend the day with her and rest. We'll just, like, lounge around. Her mother is a little hesitant, but ultimately lets the baby stay. You know, Amy is the baby's mom, and she's right. She never gets to hang out with her during the day.
Yeah, she wants to be with the baby.
Yeah, so her mom says, fine, no problem. Amy's mom hands her Emily. They snuggle in bed. Mom heads out to work. Mom tells her, I'm going to check on you throughout the day. So, you know, make sure you answer the phone. I'm just going to make sure everything's all right. So around 9:30 a.m., so still super early, Amy's mom calls Amy and there's no answer. So, okay, maybe she's in the bathroom. Because remember, no cell phones back then. This is 89.
89.
So she calls a few more times to no avail. And obviously, at that point, she starts to freak out a little bit. So first, she calls the neighbor and asks them to please go check on Emily and on Amy, explains the situation. Neighbor obviously is like, I'm heading right over there. I'll call you right back.
That's cool. Isn't that great? You could call the neighbor.
I know, right?
Be like, hey, buddy.
Takes a walk over, knocks repeatedly on the door, no answer. Knocks on the window, no answer. Starts like really making noise.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's like, shit, like this isn't good. So he runs back home and calls Amy's mom and tells her, listen, no one's coming to the door. You need to come home right now because I don't know what the hell's going on. So Amy's mom obviously
freaking out.
dashes out of work, runs home in a full panic, gets to the house, storms into the house, and searches like the whole first floor while yelling, Amy, Emily, Amy, Emily. Can't find them. No sign of them. So she starts to kind of try to get to upstairs while yelling Amy over and over. And she sees something at the top of the stairs that no one should ever see. She sees her 2-year-old granddaughter. She's alive.
Oh, thank God.
No. I don't. No, I'm not doing that. Her 2-year-old granddaughter is alive, but she's sitting at the top of the stairs all alone with blood all over her clothes. God. And obviously the mom runs upstairs and, grabs Emily and bursts open her daughter's room where she finds her daughter in bed. Blood everywhere.
No.
Blood all over the bed, blood on the walls, a bloody handprint on the wall.
What the fuck is wrong with people? Oh, I'm sorry.
The room is completely trashed. Amy's mom asks Emily, this poor little 2-year-old. But at that moment, I mean, I don't blame her. Of course you're going to ask. It's the only person here. Like, what happened? What happened, Emily? And all poor little Emily all poor little tiny Emily could say is, Mammy was mean. Oh. So that means that Amy was fighting with someone. This little angel calls her mom Mamie. Because remember, she lives with the siblings, so everyone's like, Amy, Amy, Amy. So between Mommy and Amy, she calls her Mamie. So, yeah, I guess. So she calls her Mamie. And according to Amy's mom, when the little girl would say people were mean, it's because they were arguing. Yeah. Like screaming at each other, essentially fighting. Whether physical or verbal, I don't know. But obviously, mostly it would be toward like when people would yell at each other in the house, she'd be like, stop being mean. So she says, Mamie was mean, and this poor little angel essentially watched her mother, her 16-year-old mother, get brutally attacked.
That's terrible.
Yes. So in an interview with 48 Hours Later, Amy's mother says, quote, she was lying on the bed. You really don't know what to do. You kind of panic. You don't know what to do. And I don't remember now if I called 911 first or if I got Emily out of the house first. So at some point, the police come and see that Amy was actually sexually assaulted, beaten, and strangled. But she was beaten brutally because, like I said, there was blood everywhere and a bloody handprint. So this person bludgeoned her, got blood all over their hands, and then strangled this poor girl. 16 years old.
That's crazy. And to do it in front of a little girl, too.
A little girl. I could only hope that...
Yeah, she didn't see anything.
She hid because... As a mother, I would assume, like, I know if I hear a noise, like, I'm hiding the kids first. I'm not going to go like, hey, what's going on here? Like, guys, get in, the closet, under the bed, something, and I'll go figure it out because, God forbid, something horrible happens. You want to protect the kids. So I'm hoping little Amy didn't see much. Maybe she just heard them screaming, and that's why she said they were mean. Yeah. So either way, it's god-awful, and this poor little girl. So later that day... there was reporters at the high school, which always reminds me of Scream. Remember when everything was going down? It kind of looked like that.
They were interviewing kids.
Yeah, they were teenagers. Like, ooh, a student from Woodsboro High, even though the crime didn't happen at the school, but they're doing it at the school. Yeah. So that's what they did here. So obviously no one really knows what's going on. So actually Miss George, the teacher that she's really close to, comes out.
The pregnant teacher?
Yeah. So she comes out and asks what happened. They tell her that a student was found dead. And her initial reaction is to say, she didn't get an A with me this time. I gave her a B. Is this my fault? So she thought that it was a suicide. She didn't know that it was a murder. She thought that Amy had offed herself.
Over a grade?
Over a grade. Because that's how intense this girl was with her schoolwork. Like, she wanted straight A's and she worked her ass off for it. So this poor teacher, which I'm with you. That's a very intense jump to make.
Yeah, I mean,
but
a lot of people that want to get a good grade that are not that intense.
Yeah, but who knows what kind of conversations were going on. That's what she thought. She had no idea that it was a homicide. And she learned it in that moment. It's a pretty shitty way to figure it out while being recorded, like on camera. So the police searched the house and found that bloody handprint, and they found hair in the room that did not belong to Amy. They also found stereo equipment missing and cash that Amy's older brother, JP, usually kept in the drawer, was now gone. So a theory developed that a thief snuck in through an unlocked back door to burglarize the house, and just by opportunity found that Amy was home, and a struggle started that ended in a crime of opportunity when whoever this assailant was eventually raped and murdered her.
Oh my God.
So that is a huge escalation.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, that is a hell of a theory. Your theory is that someone came in here to
randomly just
rob,
found the house, opened the back door, and then knew exactly where the cash was.
Yeah. So not only that, but so your theory is this person came in this house to steal a stereo and was like, oh, cool,
bucks.
I'll just sexually assault and murder someone while I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is a hell of a crime of opportunity, but okay. So the police started interviewing suspects. And the first on the list was obviously
The boyfriend?
no, because remember, she doesn't talk to him anymore. It's been 2 years and he's out of the picture. It's Amy's brother, JP.
Wow.
He describes the interrogation as really tough because essentially they were trying to say that he had done this to his sister. And remember, she was sexually assaulted.
Yeah,
so it's like beyond
Yeah.
the not regular. It is beyond just like the
Typical?
assumption of murder, right? Like
yeah.
sibling homicide. It happens, but I mean,
But
sibling
it
sexual
doesn't
assault
happen
and
in
murder.
sexual
It's
assault.
well, no, of course it happens, but it's it's
usually
rare.
yeah.
So
It's not typical.
no, and also, imagine being accused of something like that. Of course, the brother was very upset. So it does seem odd, but it's not the strangest thing because the equipment and the money missing were in his room, right? The people closest to the victim are usually first on the list. You know the saying,
Yeah.
It's always the husband. If someone's married and they go missing, where was the husband? So it's always the person closest or the people closest to the victim that they kind of suss out first. Her brother was ruled out because his handprint did not match and neither did the hair that they found. So the police think, okay, the things missing are in the brother's room and the house was not run through. There's literally no mess anywhere except for her room that was essentially where they fought. Other than that, even where the stereo and money is missing from, there's no mess. Someone just opened the drawer and knew where the cash was and unplugged the stereo and left. So obviously it's a little weird. So whoever did this knew that those things were in JP's room. And so it has to be a friend of JP or at least a friend of the family in some way. Someone who's been in this house.
Right.
The next on the list is
Tony
Abercrombie. Exactly who you guessed. So Amy's baby daddy. And again, no match. And on
Really?
top of no match, solid
Yes.
alibi.
He was somewhere else.
Yeah. Solid alibi. Complete dead end.
He's like probably with another 13-year-old sick
Oh,
fuck.
God, probably, which I hope not. So next up, Troy Jackson. Troy Jackson was a friend of JP who lived behind the Weidner house. He would have known the schedule and the home pretty well. They take photos of his whole body, his neck, his hands, his back to look for any defensive wounds. Because remember, Amy fought really hard. So whoever did this was going to have bruises and scratches. There's no way they didn't. But again, his handprint did not match the print on the wall. And he was still a good option, though. So they gave him a polygraph test, a lie detector. So a little bit about lie detectors. They're not admissible in court.
I was just gonna say, why would he even bother?
Yeah. People do lie detector tests for different reasons. I think that it's a really good way to get people to confess to things because they get nervous and they think they're going to get outed.
Oh, because they tell him this is gonna for sure tell us the truth.
Yeah,
if you want to go
course.
ahead and just clear your name.
Exactly. Anything you want to tell us before we tie you up to this machine? It's going to
We've
tell
seen
us
way
for
too
sure.
many crime shows.
Yeah, right. I know. But no, it's true. Like, think about it. If someone is like, are you lying to me? Okay, I'm going to tie you to this machine. It's going to tell me if you're lying to me. You want to change your story? It's going to be
Yeah.
like a whole thing.
Yeah.
So he takes the lie detector test, which, as we already discussed, is not admissible in court, but okay, you do you, boo. So they gave him the lie detector test, and he actually passes it.
He passes the lie detector test?
So he passes it. So at this point, all the leads they had, gone. Done. Everything's gone dry. Nothing matches this damn handprint. They've reached a dead stop, and Amy's case sadly goes to the cold case pile, along with 800 other cold cases. In this time, her family is mourning, and they're terrified. Her mother told 48 Hours that her kids stopped coming home until they knew that she was there for a really long time. So, like, the kids would be in and out. They'd come home from school. They'd wait for her. Now they would refuse to come home until mom was home from work. They didn't want to be alone in the house. So they're...
no shit.
Yeah. So, that's a horrible feeling. They're scared of their own home. So, but like you said, who can blame them? Emily, now, an older teenager, speaks to 48 Hours and says that she remembers it as a really sad time. The family didn't really talk a lot during this time. What was once a very inseparable family that talked about everything, now she describes as this just overwhelming feeling of not knowing what to say. Of course. So, and at 2 years old, she could feel this vibe. And she said it went on for years. So, I imagine just everyone kind of walking by each other like, exactly, what do you say? Now, remember the call at the beginning in 2002, 13 years after the murder.
The guy that called all freaking out.
So now,
the freak
freaking out. The freak that was freaking out. So we're back in 2002, which is 13 years later, where Robert Spurgeon is now the lead of the cold case department. And he, again, was the detective that answered the call. So when the man who made the call wanted to talk about a murder that he was dreaming about, and that the murder happened in 1989, and that from his dream, he now thinks he knows who killed the girl. That's
Really?
Essentially what he said on the call. Yeah. So Detective Spurgeon actually at this point wasn't familiar with Amy's case, because remember, it's 13 years later.
Yeah.
Tons of cold cases have come in after and before her. So he had never heard of it at this point. So when he looked it up in his pile of over 800 cold cases, he admits that a lot of the details that this man was ranting about were actually matching up. But they were also facts that could easily be accessible to the public from prior coverage and news articles.
Oh, you think he did research?
Well, that's what Detective Spurgeon thinks. But again, it's like 13 years later. Like, who's going to go back and read a bunch of articles? And then, but listen, people are crazy, so I don't blame them. And Detective Spurgeon is not a stranger to strange phone calls. Of course, people saying that they've had visions and like wild information on crimes and they can solve these like 100-year-old murders. And apparently it happens all the time. So
yeah, when you're dealing with murderers.
Yeah. So he was convinced that this guy was not a legit source, but thankfully it did pique his interest enough to open the case back up and kind of take a once over of everything and got him to look a little deeper into it. And naturally, who would you suspect first if you were Detective Spurgeon?
The man that's calling.
Exactly. The man who made the call. So turns out, when he looked into him, this man actually knew Amy. He worked as a custodian at her high school when she was a student there and when she was murdered.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he knew her. Like he saw her.
Yeah. He had seen her before. I'm not sure. There's really no detail on like if they talked or anything, but
It's weird that he had a dream about it.
yeah. Oh, it gets even weirder. So the detective went to the school and asked about this man, and it turns out a few of the teachers and administrators who were there in 1989 when this happened were actually still working there.
Oh, okay.
And they remember this custodian. Specifically, the guidance counselor remembers him, and she said that the custodian could not have been the murderer. And the reason that she knew this, like she had full conviction that there was no way that he did this. And the reason was because on the day of Amy's murder, he had a violent episode out of absolutely nowhere where he just started kicking and screaming. And the episode had gotten so out of hand that the guidance counselor drove the janitor home herself.
Wow.
So, yeah. So apparently this got the detective to start going back and interviewing the suspects again, right? And trying to find out what the hell was going on. This man was having vivid dreams 13 years after the murder. And on the day of the murder, at the same time, Amy was allegedly being brutally attacked. And I say allegedly because, we have like a time frame of when she was attacked.
Yeah.
At the same time she was being brutally attacked, this man had a violent kicking and screaming fit in the middle of the school.
That's crazy.
It's freaking weird. It's
so
weird.
he felt something.
I guess. I mean, who knows? It's fucking weird. But sadly, all the leads lead to nothing. The case goes cold again. Then we move to 2011. We're now 22 years after the murder. Okay. A homicide detective found a Facebook page dedicated to Amy's memory. The problem was, in 2011, this detective had no friggin' clue how to use Facebook.
Well, he was an older guy.
I guess.
He's a MySpace guy.
Maybe he's a MySpace guy, but you know who did know how to use Facebook and knew how to do it really, really well? Sergeant William Carter. Do you know what Sergeant William Carter does for the police department?
Cyber crimes?
You would think so, but no. He is a nuisance abatement officer.
A nuisance abatement officer?
Abatement officer. So essentially, he would use Facebook to find parties where he would then go and cite people for fire violations, loud music, break up underage drinking parties, and then like call the big guys to come arrest the underage drinkers. But like you know what a nuisance is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Of course
like,
I know what a nuisance is.
no, I don't know. Trust me, you'd be surprised. So that's also like a statute division. So like there's a
nuisance.
there's
division.
a nuisance statute.
Do they have guns and badges?
Oh no,
cops?
like the cops? Yeah, he's a cop. He's a real cop. He can arrest people. It's just that's like his
division
area. Yeah. But what I'm saying is there are laws like specifically for nuisance. So like how you can't play music after like 1 a.m. on a Saturday in our
right. I figured it was like a service aid where they could just walk around and just hand over citations.
Maybe. But no, he's a nuisance abatement officer. So he is an officer. And he used to use Facebook a lot to find quality of life issues, underage drinking crap, things like that.
Right.
And
young guy, computer guy.
Yeah. And he was actually trying to get a promotion. So he thought, like, okay, I'm going to start using Facebook to get more.
If I stop enough parties, maybe they'll promote
get
me.
a promotion, good performance, right? So they went to him and asked him, hey, can you help us like figure out how to basically read this Facebook page? And he jumps on it. Because remember, he's trying to get a promotion. So he's like, hell yeah, I can help with this murder. Why not? So he jumps on Facebook and he realizes that it's Amy Weidner. And he knows this case because the case had stayed with him after he remembered seeing Amy in the newspaper and seeing her face all the time because he actually grew up in the same area.
Oh, okay.
And she would be a similar age that he was at this time. He remembers this case vividly. So after teaching them how to use the Facebook and all that stuff, he decides to take home 65 pages of the file and read them on his own accord, on his time off. And after he started doing this, he was completely hooked. On his own time, he went through the entire case file and all the original handwritten case notes that were either, like I said, handwritten or typed on a typewriter. And he started entering the information into the computers and digitizing them.
Okay.
So he was killing two birds with one stone. He was reading everything and he was now creating a digital file to keep everything more organized.
It, right?
Exactly. So he just sat there and retyped all this information word for word into a computer, including everything up to the funeral guest book.
Why do they do that, though? Like, why? What's the point of archiving it?
Well, I imagine it's much easier to cross-reference notes when they're digitized rather than like typewritten where you have to like, oh, remember that thing? Wait, what was that? Sounds familiar. Let me go back to exactly. Who knows what page that was on? So like anything else, I assume, also paper doesn't last forever. It will start to disintegrate. So especially if it's a cold case, your best bet is to make everything digital.
Okay.
And I'm sure he chose to read and type it out because he wanted to read it anyways. So if you scan it, just put it, doesn't really do the same thing, right? Going through all of this word for word pointed something out to Sergeant Carter. A lot of things were overlooked in the original investigation, including many of JP's friends. JP was Amy's brother. Friends that were never interviewed, nor did they ever have DNA samples taken. Probably because in 1989, there was no DNA sampling going on. So when he saw these holes, he thought to himself, no, something's wrong here and I'm going to fix it. This is a freaking nuisance abatement officer taking on a 22-year-old murder and saying, nope, I'm going to fix this. No homicide experience, no cold case experience, nothing. He literally shuts down high school basement parties. And this man is like, nope, I'm going to fix this.
What is he going to do?
Well, so he is very interested in solving this 22-year-old case. With the cold case department's approval, he starts to interview people and asking a lot of the right questions that nobody else ever asked. So he's visiting houses of former neighbors, and most had moved away by this point, but some hadn't. And one neighbor, who was still local, gives him a name, Rodney Denk. Now, that was a new name that was nowhere in the records, but the Weidner family knew him really, really well. JP says that he hadn't seen him in a long time, but that he would definitely consider him one of his really good friends.
Why didn't he bring this up in the 80s?
I don't know. Like he said, he hadn't seen him in a while.
Your sister got beaten.
He didn't suspect it. There was no reason to think it was this guy. Like he said, he hadn't seen him in a while, but he considers him a really good friend. They used to hang out all the time. They used to go fishing, ride around in the car, like, teenage boy stuff, right?
Yeah.
Another friend told Sergeant Carter that Denk wasn't a threat. He was really quiet and kept to himself, so that explains why no one brought him up. He literally was the most inconspicuous of the friends.
Right.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Because we're going to learn more about this guy, and I don't know how inconspicuous he was. I feel like nowadays we also know that the quiet one's the first one you look at.
I was just going to say, it's always that one quiet guy that's making all the noise.
There's a saying that
Silent noise.
There is a saying that I absolutely love. Says, fear the quiet man, for while you speak, he plans. And it always freaks me out, but it also always makes me very cautious of very quiet people.
Yeah,
I have to tell
sinister look in their eyes.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you thinking about that you're not saying shit right now? So Sergeant Carter went to Denk's mother's house where Denk was living.
Mrs. Denk.
Yeah, I guess so. So Mrs. Denk's home where Rodney was actually living because he had gotten a divorce. So he was not there at the time, and mom, is totally chill, doesn't look freaked out at all, and just says, yeah, he's at work, but he'll be back later. So Carter leaves his card and says, tell him to give me a call when he comes home. So he gets a call from Denk, surprisingly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the kid comes home.
That's also a test, right?
I mean, who knows? I really think, no, actually, when I was researching this, I remember reading this officer's interview, and he said he had no reason not to expect this guy to call him back. So remember, everyone was like, yeah, he was one of the friends, but he was so quiet and chill. Like, he's really nothing, but he might have information for you.
Sure.
So even Sergeant Carter didn't think this was the guy. He just thought, oh, look, another name I can get more info from and eventually get to the guy. So... And that's what he told the mom. Like, I just have some questions for him on something that happened. He might have some info for me. Tell him to call me. Phone rings. It's Denk. Again, Carter's not surprised because he thinks nothing of this kid. And Carter tells him he needs to talk to him about an old friend, Amy Weidner. And Denk says no problem and agrees to meet with him at his home later. So for Carter to come back to Denk's house to speak. So Denk gets in his car, heads over, but when Carter shows up, Carter gets in his car, heads over to Denk's, but when he shows up, Denk is MIA. Guy's gone.
Huge
off
red
the grid.
flag. Yeah.
Huge red flag. Nowhere to be found. Major flags. So when Carter then looks him up, because remember, he didn't suspect anything of him. He really just thought this was a name to get him to another name. Mm-hmm. So he's like, well, that's weird that he told me to come and now he ran away. Let me do a quick Google on this guy. Not a Google, but and
I think, could you Google back then?
Yeah, I'm sure.
2011?
But this is a cop. He also has police records, which are far more reliable, I assume. So
could you imagine? Did you use the police files?
Google?
No, I've Googled it. And Yahoo, no, at the time it was
Yahoo.
Take that off.
Absolutely not. So anyways, so he looks him up in the police records, and you guessed it, a record. An impressive record at that. He had a battery charge from back in 1991 and a larceny charge in 1997. So in what Carter says was literally an attempt to rule Denk out and move on, he takes the prints from his 1997 arrest and asks the lab to cross-check it with the bloody handprint on Amy's wall. 22 years ago. The print, not the DNA.
Not the DNA.
And it's a fucking match.
There we go.
The 22-year-old bloody fingerprint matches the criminal larceny charge fingerprints from 1997. And this nuisance abatement officer, because I can't get over that.
He solved a big case, a cold case.
He says, I was shocked. I did not expect it to be that easy. Like, that is a quote from him later
That's
in an
crazy.
interview. He was just as shocked as we are.
Because he took reports home and he archived them himself, typed it all up.
And he literally, like I said, was using this guy to get to the guy. He didn't realize this was the fucking guy. So he literally started questioning people 2 weeks before this. And now he had his guy after
That's
22
crazy.
years. And multiple,
It's all about asking the right questions.
100%,
Right?
because multiple homicide detectives were on this one.
Spurgeon. I remember that name.
Spurgeon was one. The original detectives. This has gone through multiple people trained in homicide.
Trained in homicide.
And cold
And they're
cases.
even getting phone calls from people saying, I know who did it.
Literally. And this guy, 2 weeks of asking the right questions, got their guy. After two weeks? After 22 years. Somebody get this guy a fucking promotion. That's all I
Seriously.
gotta say.
Upgrade him.
But
Give him a gun.
now he has a gun. But now we're back. And Dank is still gone. Remember.
Oh, right. He
Dank's
fled.
on the run, and he found all this out. So he's on the run. No one knows where he is. His mom is like, I got no freaking clue. He literally said, I'm leaving, and never saw him again. But the moron used his credit card to rent a car that had OnStar on it.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, he's really smart. So they found him in Indianapolis visiting a friend, and he was getting back into said rental car when the police surrounded him, to which Dank put his hands up and yells while holding a knife and screaming, I didn't do it. Do what? I don't know, because
I know.
no one has said
Nobody
anything,
accused you
sir.
of anything, man.
Slits his wrists right there.
Jeez.
On his friend's driveway lawn. I don't know. Slits his freaking wrist. This guy was a family friend. He was at the funeral with the family.
Oh, and he was
He
there.
signed
Oh,
the
my
guest
God.
book. His name is in the funeral guest book.
I mean, do you expect anything less from these?
I mean, I don't know. But that is, I don't know. That fact is super creepy to me. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it when the murderer is always at like the public vigil, the memorial.
Right.
It's actually a huge statistic that lots and lots and lots of perpetrators are at these events. And you can like, after everything's like done, you can find them in like photos. It's crazy. Sick in the head.
Yeah.
So he's in the hospital now getting treatment for his attempt
Wrist.
at slitting his wrists. He didn't die. And while they're there, they just,
By the way, what didn't you do exactly? Because we didn't tell you.
we're not even
anything.
there yet. Exactly. So he is getting treatment for his botched attempt. And, you know, while they're there, just you know, why don't you just cross-reference that DNA from the blood on his wrist to the blood from the crime scene 22 years ago.
That's right.
And with the semen that was found on her bed sheets 22 years ago. And it's a match. So now they've got a matching print and DNA. This guy's cooked. He's done. So obviously with all that up against him, he confesses and says that it indeed was a robbery gone wrong. He did not know that Amy was going to be home that day. He only wanted to steal JP's stereo and cash. But when she was home, he freaked out.
And raped her.
Exactly, right? That's why this is all bullshit. I call bullshit, but this is his story. She was home. He didn't expect her to be home. He freaked out. She fought him, so he hit her over the head because he was freaking out. But thankfully, he says that he actually never saw the baby. Because I guess they asked him, like, and what about Emily?
I believe a word he says.
I don't know, because this guy seems pretty fucking crazy. I think he would have hurt the baby if he saw her. I really do. I think the baby got
That's
I'm
a
going to
good
tell you
point.
something really heartbreaking. I think the baby got the blood on her because she was trying to wake her mother up. I really think so. Because this guy's so fucking crazy and so... Exactly. You go from stealing your best friend's stereo to raping and murdering his sister. Like, I think he would have hurt the baby, which is horrible. So thank God. He says, when they ask him about the baby, he's like, I never saw Emily. I didn't think she was there. So thank God, because who knows what he would have done. So after he hit her, he says that she passed out. So then he raped her.
Yeah.
Because she was passed out.
Yeah, according to you, it was just a robbery.
Exactly. But then he also killed her because now she saw him. So she's going to report him and he's going to go to jail. So instead of going to jail for stealing a stereo, which would get you what, probation maybe? I'm just going to go ahead and rape and murder this poor girl because that way she can't tell on me and I won't go to prison for life. An interesting side note that leads me to believe that he absolutely would have hurt this poor child is that Rodney did this murder when he was 18 years old. So Amy was 16, Rodney was 18 when this murder occurred. Now, Rodney has a son with his ex-wife.
Okay.
And that son is actually at this time in prison.
The son is in prison?
Rodney Dank's son is in prison for murdering his mother with a baseball bat.
Oh my God. What's up with this
As
family?
an older, like as a teenager. I think he was like 18. Something like, don't quote me on the age, but he was very young, like 18, 19 years old. So I'm just going to leave that right there and you can pick it up and do what you want with it, or you can just leave it there. But something about genetics and
Yeah, they've got to study
trauma
his
in
brain, right?
DNA. Yeah. Trauma and rage being carried in DNA. I believe.
Well, does the
Completely.
son have a son?
I hope not.
I
I
was gonna
doubt
say.
it. No, I'm like, please, no.
That's an awful story.
Horrible. So the prior detective, Detective Spurgeon, he said that he saw countless names over and over the years, but Rodney Dank never came up, which is weird because he was in the funeral book, but okay. And Carter wondered why he was never questioned. So Carter obviously was like, I don't understand why you didn't question him. He's in the funeral book. But sadly, it really does just look like it was a very tragic oversight. Like it just was,
Right.
they just bypassed it for some reason. Something happened that they missed it. Listen, it happens. People miss things all the time. And sadly,
Yeah, look what
heavy
happens.
things like this. So days before the trial was set to begin,
Poor Amy.
yep, Rodney Dank ended up pleading guilty to rape and murder in exchange for a pathetic 65 years in prison, which to me is not enough, but that's just how it works. That's how pleas work a lot. He probably got the death penalty taken off the table, you know, who knows?
Yeah.
But he took the 65 years for the rape and the murder, and he's put
Yeah,
away
hopefully he's getting his justice
other ways. Yeah.
other ways. Yeah.
So in interviews with 48 Hours, Amy's mom, Gloria, says that she wasn't completely relieved and couldn't understand how this person would betray her family. But today she has her grandchildren come and stay in Amy's room where they visit. And she says, quote, "It's for my grandchildren now. When they come to stay, they have a room," Gloria said, standing in what once was Amy's bedroom. "The only thing that's in here that was here when Amy was here is the hats on the door."
Oh.
I know. It's not Amy's room anymore. Amy is in me. She'll always be with me. That's what she said to 48 Hours. So Amy's daughter, Emily, also said, "It's nice for me to hear so many people who adored this girl." And she was a girl. She was only 16. She had like an impact. She was there and she had a purpose. I think that because it makes me think that was my mom. That was, yeah, I'd like to be like that one day.
Yeah.
That was her, that's an exact quote from her 48 Hours interview. So she was like very nostalgic, thinking back, and it sounds like this poor girl who had to grow up without her mother has heard only amazing things
she heard,
about
like,
her
stories.
and wants to grow up to be just like her, to make an impact like her. So in January 2014, little side note, Mr. Carter received the Indianapolis Police Department Award of Merit. Carter was offered the opportunity to join the homicide unit, but decided to remain a nuisance abatement officer.
He knows where he came from.
But I will say on a side note that detective or sergeant, I'm not sure if you ever got the promotion.
Could you imagine? He goes, "No, I have a party to stop."
Well, literally, he decided to stay a nuisance abatement officer. But
Don't
looks
fuck
like,
around on Facebook.
Well, it looks like he got a little bored
So he joined
because he
Instagram.
started looking into the cold case of a murdered 19-year-old woman, Carmen Van Huss. Again, on his own time. Just doing it. I'm not going to get into what happened with Carmen because we might cover it on another case. It's actually very interesting. But yeah, that's the story of how a nuisance abatement officer solved a 22-year-old cold case.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. It's sad.
So sad.
I mean, obviously, it's extremely, extremely tragic.
So that's the case of Amy Weidner.
All right.
Thanks for listening to episode 3. Again, follow us on Instagram at Married to Macabre Podcast. We'll be posting story summaries and questions and asking for all your recommendations. And remember to send us your ghost stories, and we'll be happy to share them on the next episode. So that being said, we'll see you next week. Tune in next time, and we're happy to see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.